All right, good evening, everyone. It is 6 o'clock. I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. John, if you could call the roll, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Peter?
Here.
Atkins?
Here.
Conant?
Here.
Crawford?
Here.
Darcy?
Here.
Goddard?
Here.
Graff?
Here.
Hall?
Here.
Harris?
Here.
Howard? Hovey?
Here.
Emig? Josting? Longfellow? Mennel?
Here.
Frail?
Here.
Rich Stinson?
Here.
Roberts?
Here.
Scortino?
Here.
Sin?
Here.
Chairman Zimmerman?
Here.
You have a quorum?
We have a formal do business. If we could rise for the invocation and pledge, please. Heavenly Father, thank you for the privilege of living in a free country where we can come together and debate these issues. Thank you for Tazewell County and just all of our citizens and what they bring to the table. I pray that what we do here tonight honors them and honors you. I pray for those members that are not here this evening that they know that they're in our thoughts and prayers. Thank you for our employees and the great job that they're doing, especially this past year as we face this COVID pandemic. I pray for those that are suffering from COVID and symptoms right now, that as the great physician found that you could care for them. Thank you for Sheriff Lauer and his frontline people and all that they do, and Amy in the health department and all that they do also. I pray that our agenda tonight and our conversation will honor you. We know that you're a God who is in control and is a good God, and we love you. In your name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we're just going to do the communications, and then we'll go out a little bit out of order. Any communications from the public or county employees? I see none. Any communications from elected or appointed county officials? Brandon?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to let this board know about the positive meeting we had this month with Mr. Jim Bromer of Mid-Century Fiber. The broadband issue is something the Broadband Committee has been working on for some time, and this is a positive turning point. Mr. Bromer is passionate about rural America and rural residents because he is both. Mid-Century Fiber is a rural company. It's based in Fairbury and also Quincy. They have experience in navigating the state grants and federal grants, and going forward, we're going to be working with them moving on. I'm going to be sending out an email over next week discussing further steps for citizens to take to make this become closer to reality. Thank you.
Thank you, Brandon. It was a profitable meeting. Russ?
This is just an addendum to your prayer. We've never done this before, but I thought I would. I had an opportunity to talk to Amy, who I see here tonight, and her husband was just out of the hospital and is recuperating, so I wanted to add our prayers for Dean. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Russ. Amy, he's in our prayers. So. Any others? Seeing none, I'm going to go a little bit out of order. I'm going to have an in-place executive committee meeting. Sue, if you could call the roll, please.
Chairman Zimmerman.
Here.
Harris.
Here.
Atkins.
Here.
Conant. Here. Darcy. Here. Graff.
Here.
Emig. Josting. Longfellow. Mennel.
Here.
Frail. Here. Sin.
Here.
You have a quorum.
All right. Well, I wish I had somebody else to blame, but somebody forgot to put Mr. Mingus on the agenda of the executive committee, so I apologize for that. Can I get a motion motion by Graff, second by Roberts? Actually, Joe, it's our executive, that's all right. Second by Darcy. Any questions about David, his character, and anything else?
I have a lot of questions.
Okay, thanks, Nancy. All right. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The motion passes. We are in recess, and at this time, I'd like to have Mr. Mingus come forward and we'll swear you. Oh, yeah, exactly. I'm sorry. I'm getting ahead of myself. Down to the agenda, item 14, can I get a motion to approve, Mr. Megas? Motion by Rich Stimson, second by Trail. Any questions? All those in favor signify by aye. Aye. Those opposed? Unanimous, Dave. Now you can come forward and get started with it. So,
Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, David Mingus,
Having been elected
having been elected
to the office of
to the office of
Tazewell County Board
Tazewell County Board
in the County of Tazewell
County of Tazewell
in the state of Illinois,
in the state of Illinois,
after said, do solemnly swear
after said do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the
of
Constitution
the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
of the
of
state of Illinois,
the state of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of the office
the
of
duties of the office of
Tazewell County Board
Tazewell County Board
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
we're looking forward to having you on the board, Dave. So, big shoes to fill with Seth, so. Anyway. All right. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes from the June 30th County Board meeting? Motion by Atkins, second by Hovey. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. We have a couple of in-place meetings. In-place property. Tonight will be Vice Chairman Harris leading the meeting. Mike?
Sue, would you call the roll, please?
Chairman Longfellow, Vice Chairman Harris,
Here.
Rapp,
Here.
Powder, Emmett, Josephine, Rich Stimson, here, Shortino,
Here.
And we don't have a quorum, but the county board chair, this is the committee chair. County board chair has the same voting rights as the member. So we're gonna add Dave to the committee and will be our quorum. All right. Entertain a motion to approve the sale of polling location equipment to Liberty Systems. Motion by Tammy, second by Nick. Are there any questions or comments? What's going on from anybody? All in favor, signify. I'm sorry. I didn't know if you were. That's all right, go ahead.
I saw this, it said that, this was to go back to the Liberty Company that we bought them from to begin with. Are they buying them back for the same amount of money? Have we used them, or how long have we used them?
Would you answer that?
Yep. We had the equipment for, I don't have it in front of me, by approximately 4 or 5 years now. It has been used previously in the past. I know it's not being sold back to them for the same amount we bought it for. They're selling it instead of as new equipment as used equipment. So the rate is lower.
So they're going to resell it?
Yes.
What's the reason for selling it?
After 2 years ago, after the precinct redistricting, we had about 5 sets of polling equipment that we weren't using anymore. I decided to keep it instead of selling it at that point because we may need extras, something may break, it would save us from having to, what was the purpose of selling it? I couldn't figure out. So we kept it. Sorry, we had 6 sets then. Now with the polling redistricting you did last month at the meeting, we have an additional 5 that have come on. Well, I don't need 11 sets sitting around. So we're going to keep still the additional 5. We're just selling off the remainder that we had. So we're remaining the balance that we had, which was a plus 5, basically, additional sets.
Are there any other questions?
Are these, these additional sets, are they the same that you have sitting in storage?
Yes.
The
Yeah.
same thing,
Yep.
and bought at the same time?
Yep.
Dave?
Just when we sell county equipment, does it have to go out to bid?
Surplus?
This does not have to go out to bid because it is election equipment that has security features built into it. It's not something that the general public is allowed to buy. We could either sell it back to Liberty or another provider like them, or we could try to sell it to counties ourselves. since our provider was willing to buy it back, it saved us from having to, and when I contacted the other counties, nobody that uses Liberty was interested at this point. But we could have sold directly to another county if we had somebody that was interested. I just didn't know of anybody that was, and Liberty was available.
But that still allows bidding, doesn't it? Even though you have interested parties, you should have or could have. Shouldn't we go out for bids? Is there a legal answer to that?
My understanding, Mr. Ackerman can correct me, but I believe that there was a contractual element to that where it could only be sold back to the company or to another county rather than open for the general public to bid on.
Yes.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Entertain a motion to approve the McKinsey Building fan coil replacement and upgrade. Motion by Dave, second by Tammy. Mike, could you give us a brief overview of this?
Yes, this is the same project we put out last year, and we have a three places. We ended with 4 bidders in this one, the 3 originals and then 1 extra. It actually came in lower than I thought it was, compared to the last time. Actually, the higher bidder the last time, and the lower bidder this time. That was us. This will include replacing all the fan coils, putting some isolation valves in so we can isolate the building during the off seasons. You get all the new runs and the piping, all the supply and return lines run through the building. Those all need to be covered on top of that. We're putting a slope top type of fan coil in so that people can set their focus and stuff on it and stop air flow and what have you. We are also looking, as far as I was explaining, there's a possibility that we can do some extra work as part of this project, and putting an ionization system in this thing, which would be a filtration system that may fall in the guidelines of the state for COVID money. So if this works out, we may do that and possibly give this project money back to the money for. So we're looking at that right now and trying to get pricing and find some more information out about this work. So I'll have more information as we get further in this thing.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions? Monica?
Sorry, I'm not.
That's all right. Okay, turn it on.
When was the last time this major overhaul of this equipment was done, sir?
I think part of it is original equipment on the side of the building, the north end of the building.
Okay.
On the south end of the building where the jail used to be, whenever they put that into place. And I don't know when that renovation was took place.
I just remember it's been a long time ago, they did some major renovations to that, and I mean years ago.
2004, 2005.
Yeah, it was quite a while. Thank you.
Any other questions? I have a question about, will it affect, when we change seasons, we have problems. The building gets cold in the spring and hot in the fall.
Right.
Will that have anything to do with it? Will it help that?
Somewhat, yes. What we're doing, that's why we're putting isolation valves in, we'll be able to isolate loops and more. As opposed to isolating individual units, we're gonna isolate the systems at different levels.
Good,
And we can hopefully shut off that loop and stop that water from flowing through the loop.
good. Any other questions? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries and we're in recess.
Thanks, Mike. We have an in-place finance committee, Chairman Graff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sue, would you call the roll, please?
Chairman Graff.
Here.
Darcy. Here. Atkins.
Here.
Harris.
Here.
Simic. Mennel.
Here.
Mingus.
Here.
Grail. Here. Rich Simpson. Here. Shortino.
Here.
Sin.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, Sue. We have one resolution before us, F-21-23. Can I get a motion to get that on the floor? By Frail, second by Darcy. Any discussion or questions? Well, we're going to talk about it in a few minutes, so go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Should
I have
mic on?
thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I have a question, Nick. I'm sorry.
You're actually on the committee, so go ahead, Mike, I'll follow.
Oh, it doesn't matter. You're buying in extra election supplies. Why do you need extra supplies, or it's for the next election, or what? I thought we budgeted enough for your elections.
This isn't, I'm sorry, this is for polling locations in the townships, the booths themselves. This isn't something we normally budget for. We put in for a grant this year, ADA grant of $156,000. That will be the cost for us to flip all of our polling booths that have not been flipped yet to fully ADA compliant voting booths. We did not get that grant. We got the McKenzie Building grant instead. We will pursue that in the future, but in the meantime, with the additional proceeds from the sale of the voting equipment, I wanted to turn it into starting to chip away at that project of getting those polling booths located in each township replaced. We would target first just the ones that have the highest amount of risk at this time, the ones that are the oldest age. Those would be the ones that we would take care of first.
Thank you.
Mr. Crawford? Thank you, Mr.
Grant. My comments have nothing to do with the county clerk, or they're simply on finance process in Tazewell County. In the old days, before I was out here, each department acted like it was its own county. We had treasurer and circuit clerk taking in money, and they're thinking it's their revenue, not Tazewell County's revenue. They didn't deposit it with the treasurer, and then they would buy things. And needless to say, that's no way to run a county. That's no modern, fiscally responsible way to run a county. So the first I saw this line that says to exceed the budget, it is wholly fiscally inappropriate to allow any department head, elected or appointed, to exceed their budget. If you want to do that, there's a way to do it. Whether he's bringing in money or not, that he uses that as the rationale for us to do what we have the authority to do. What we have the authority to do is transfer. We're realizing that X number of dollars are coming in, and I'm not getting into that, whether it really is or really isn't. I know that there's some disagreement about that. But let's say that X number of dollars is coming in, then what we do is, and the finance director will back me up on this, then you transfer from the contingent line item to the appropriate line item to expend that X number of dollars, and then in the treasurer's office, it's fund by fund. It's not line item by line item in the treasurer's office. All the revenue is mixed, so it washes out, it balances. But for the county board to pass any resolution that authorizes anybody to exceed what the county board authorized by budget is wholly inappropriate, fiscally irresponsible, and might be illegal. So what we needed to do, if you wanted to do that for the county clerk, you need to transfer money from the contingency line. Tell me where I'm wrong, Mr. Peters.
Well, in this case, John spoke with me about this before, and the way I view this is similar to us getting a new grant in that we didn't budget for. So this is unbudgeted revenue going basically to an unbudgeted expense. So if the board feels we need to transfer to cover that excess over the budget amount, I think that's entirely appropriate.
Thank you.
If you do or don't, that's really your call.
Well, the last thing I'll say, and I appreciate your leniency, Mr. Graham, is that any department head on any case, on any issue, whether it's grant money or I'm getting this money in from selling these things or whatever, could make that argument. And at the end of the year, you don't know what your budget is because you didn't document the expense out of the correct line item. And that's the whole purpose of GAFR. It's Governmental Accounting and Auditing Financial Reporting Standards. And I spent a lot of time making sure the county board quit doing these kinds of resolutions, because we used to do these resolutions all the time. We'd authorize Dwayne Gray to just spend way more money than the county board budgeted. And that's a hell of a way to run a county, fiscal. Thank you. I'm gonna vote no on this simply because it's the wrong thing to do. Nothing against you, John.
Mrs. Kelly?
Thank you, Chairman. I'm not on your committee, but I do have a question to ask about this too. I do agree with Russ on this, and the wording of this is to exceed his budget line item. Well, wouldn't it be properly put forth as to amend the budget if you want to exceed that line item? Wouldn't it be proper to amend the budget first and then go from there? Because the way this is, I'm voting no too. This is not correct either.
Mr. Holly, do you have any advice?
Nothing immediate. I was just looking at the budget and transfer statutes. I don't want to give any inappropriate advice to the board. I would have to look into the statutes and some of the case law that applies to them a little bit more specifically. But I don't have anything to do with the transfer procedures that Mr. Crawford outlined.
Okay, Mr. Atkins?
Thanks, Nick. I'm going to offer an opinion here, and I hope that if I'm incorrect on this, Mr. Holly will point out where I'm incorrect. I think that Russ is correct about the proper procedure we should follow. However, if the board votes by a supermajority to allow this expenditure, that would satisfy a requirement as to amending the budget. So if we were to vote, as many of our votes tend to be, as a unanimous vote or even just a few of us voting against it, then as a practical matter, we will have satisfied the requirement for this to actually be an amendment of the budget. And as a practical matter, if we're authorizing exceeding a particular budget, I think we are authorizing amending the budget. So unless Mr. Holly believes that I am absolutely incorrect about the possibility of the amending of the budget without stating unequivocally that we are amending the budget, I think this only becomes an issue if we have a tightly divided vote on this. If the will of the board is that we make this actually an amendment of the budget, then I can sit down with Mr. Holly and we can come up with a way to phrase it that it actually is amending the budget by amending this particular resolution you have before you. But what I would urge everyone to do is think about whether, if this came to you as an amendment of the budget, you would be willing to vote on it, and if so, then vote on it, because I think that's effectively what we're doing. The wording, Russ is right, the wording is really not appropriate, but it's still effectively an amendment of the budget. And so I'm going to be voting in favor of it, and I hope all of you will too.
Ms. Dorsey?
I was going to ask my colleagues. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Trotter?
Thank you, Mr. Graff. I really appreciate what Russ said. I think this is a question of procedure, but I want to remind this board that the American Disabilities Act is one of the most vital human rights acts that our U.S. Congress has ever passed. In ADA compliance, it is a human rights issue, well above a finance issue, for more than one reason. And I strongly recommend that we support this. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
So I guess my only question is, we're going to be working on our new budget here and starting next month. Is this something, and I don't think our next election is until June of 22. Is this something we can table tonight in order to get the right language, or defer until the new budget, which starts December 1st, which would seem to be ample time to get new equipment? Just throwing that out.
I agree with everything you said. I'm waiting for somebody to suggest that.
I was waiting to hear somebody else say it, but I would suggest that we would table this until, that would be my motion.
We have a motion to table this resolution. Is there a second motion?
second by Mr. Harris. Is there discussion? Sorry, you can't do that. All in favor to table, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Now okay.
All right, down to our consent agenda. Item 2 is going to be pulled. Item 4, item 5, 7 is not on the table, and 14 was already passed. Any other items that need to be pulled, Mike? Number one. That was actually pulled, so they're not here tonight. We didn't have an in-place health services. I'm sorry, I should have made mention of that. So, any others?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Crawford, second by Roberts. On the remainder, all those in favor signify by aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion passes. Can I get appointments A through D? Can I get a motion by Conitt, second by Shortino? Any questions? All those in favor signify by aye. Aye. Those opposed? Okay, back to the items that were pulled. Item 2. Can I get a motion to get that on the floor? Motion by Crawford, second by Hovey. And I believe, Crystal, who has the language? Russ, okay.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I'm acting at the behest of the Community Development Director, and I would amend the resolution on the floor to include the following words, and I'll bring this up and give it to you and the county clerk. Be it further resolved that the county clerk notify the Community Development Administrator and American Legal of this action.
And this was from Crystal, so if you have any questions, you can direct him. Okay, so that was on an amendment. Is there a second on the amendment? Second by Atkins. You need the language, you just heard it. Any questions? All those in favor of the amendment signify by aye. Aye. Those opposed? Now back to the resolution as amended. Are there questions? Greg and then Bill.
Last time we did this, there was a lot of phone calling afterwards, I think for the adoption of the 2012. I did talk with Crystal briefly prior to the meeting and asked what difference this was going to be, and I guess I'd like to ask her to comment on how she feels the changes following 2018 will work with the area builders and stuff.
I think with the 18, it provides a lot of alternative methods for builders versus 2012. It clarifies a lot of language in there that we struggle with in interpretation as well. The other communities, as I stated before, they are also in the process of adopting 18. We just want the consistency for all communities to be on the same code cycle to make it easier for the builders as well. So there's a big difference, and I saw those differences out to you guys, but the biggest thing is that this provides different alternatives and it clarifies a lot of things versus what 2012 had.
Bill?
My question is, and I want to preface this by saying I usually don't care what other governments are doing. We should do what's right for our citizens, but I am concerned with regards to building codes in particular, whether this puts us in line or out of line with other governments, because that has an effect on how likely we are to have further development. If we're driving up the costs of development to the point where we're saying to people who want to develop that they should be looking at Woodford County or McLean County or one of the other surrounding counties, then I would be against this. So I'm just curious if, Crystal, if you know, in terms of surrounding counties, how much different does this make us from the county surrounding?
Well, we've always had the building code since 2014, so we're just asking to go to a different code cycle different year. Woodford does not have a building code. Peoria County does. McLean does not. The smaller counties, Logan, those other communities, they don't have an actual building code as well. The cost supposedly, I mean, according to the research that was done, the 18 costs actually come in a little bit cheaper in some aspects because of the different alternatives or methods that are allowed versus the 2012. we notified, all our contractors, all our builders, to let them know that we're doing the upgrade from the 12 to 18. And no one had any comments. We talked to them about it at the counter when they come in and met with them. Nothing negative. They were happy to see there are different, again, different alternatives and different methods provided versus 2012.
And I appreciate your answer. You answered more than what I asked, and you actually gave me exactly what I wanted to ask. The cost is going to be lower, so I'm happy.
All right, any other questions? Hi, Monica?
Thank you. So this, and ultimately is, I noticed on reading on the iPad that you have, different cities in the county and that, there was some that has not yet passed this. But this makes this more cohesive throughout the county. Am I assuming that correctly?
Correct.
Okay, so therefore, if they're going from one city to the other, which does happen a lot, is Peoria County, if they've got this, the 2018 also?
Peoria City and Peoria County adopted this year.
Okay, that's what I thought I saw, so I want to make sure. Thank you.
Any other questions? Let's see, we passed the amendment, correct? We're back to the original resolution. So, any other questions? All those in favor signify by aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes. P2104, number 4 that just came out of committee. Can I get a motion? Motion by Crawford, second by Mennel. Any other questions? This is the sale of the polling equipment. All those in favor signify by aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes. Item 5, P2105, on the McKenzie front fan coil replacement. Motion by Conlon, second by Darcy. Any other questions? All those in favor signify by aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes. Any unfinished business? Any new business? The bills, review at your leisure. Can I get a motion to approve the August 21 calendar of meetings? Motion by Hutty, second by Roberts. Any changes? All those in favor signify by aye. Aye. Those opposed? We are in recess until August 25th. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.